Hey, everybody. Thank you for joining us here on our Facebook Live. We have an absolutely exciting guest for you today. We have Bobbie Carrington with the One Relocation Group, part of Keller Williams. Bobbie, thanks for joining us. How have you been?
Absolutely. Been great. I've actually been having a blast over the last several months.
You said that, and I love that energy because I think you may be one of the only people that I've talked to who says they've been having a great time so far in 2020.
It's been great. It's been great. Family time, work, loud noises. At some points, I get a break to do other things. I love it. It's been fun.
That's so awesome, and I love that outlook. Sometimes well, they say in bold, which most people don't know what bold is, but what you focus on expands. And if you focus on all the negative and everything that's going bad, that's the way your life is going to go. And I love having somebody here who's excited and ready to go.
Absolutely.
So let me ask the big question that everybody wants to know.
Yeah.
What is going on in real estate? Are we up and running? What are we doing?
It's been bananas for us. It's been so great. For us, we've literally increased our volume possibly 3 times from the buyers that are saying, hey, well, I want to take advantage of these rates, and hey, I want to sell and go there. And sometimes it's unfortunate scenarios where people are being furloughed and they need solutions. And I love that we're able to provide those solutions for them. So in my opinion, real estate is booming.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that because, a lot of, again, media, doom and gloom and everything. And I think it's important that we focus on the reality, which is real estate's going. We are absolutely an essential business. People are buying, people are selling. It's really a crazy time because it's a good time to buy and it's a good time to sell. You said interest rates are at an all-time low. What kind of rates are you seeing out there?
We did one the other day at 2.75. Crazy?
What? That's crazy. That's so good. That's so amazing. I'm so glad that we're doing that. So I'm hearing a lot of agents saying that we're engaging in multiple offer situations. Can you tell us a little bit about multiple offer situations, what that is and what it means to our buyers?
Yes. The minute we put a property on the market, there's this huge demand of buyers that's in line, that's submitting offers saying, I want your property. And what I love about that is that actually many of those buyers end up paying a little bit more. So it benefits the sellers, and the buyers are happy because they get the home they want. And it's just crazy because once it goes live, what I'm finding, Jonathan, within 24 hours, we have 3 to 7 offers on some properties. The other day we had 20.
20. That's got to be so overwhelming for, it's great for the seller. That's what they want, right? The more people bidding on their property, the more they're going to get off of it. Yep. The more options they have to choose from.
Yep.
That's got to be so overwhelming for the seller. We always talk about the buyer side of this, where the buyers are like, oh, we got to make our best and final offer. How do we win that? And you guys are such great negotiators. And that's one of the things I love about your team is that you really negotiate hard for your buyers.
Absolutely.
How do you manage all of that information for sellers? Because they're not just submitting one piece of paper that says, hey, here's what we're willing to pay. It's a whole contract. Yeah. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. One of the things we did several years ago when we found that a lot of our properties were being priced well and going into multiple offer scenarios, we created a spreadsheet that's very simple for the seller to understand. And they love it, Jonathan. Instead of looking at a stack like this of several offers and thumbing through what makes sense, what should they care about, we actually have a side-by-side comparison. And our sellers rave about it. Within seconds, they can look at everything the offer entails and make an informed decision.
Because an offer is so much more than just a sales price. So what are some of the other factors that go on that sheet that a seller can look at and go, okay, this is what I need to be thinking about, lease backs? What are some of the things that they're looking at?
I love it. So yes, to your point, lease backs, once we sell and get our funds, do we have a transition period? Many sellers, the fear is, I don't want to have to move twice, or I don't want to be homeless for a period of time, or I don't want to move into a hotel or an extended stay just to get to my next destination. So yes, to your point, lease backs is certainly essential in these offers. Another thing is the option period. That's something that's critical, Jonathan, is how much time is the buyer asking you to take your house off the market so that they can get it inspected? Because they have up until right now, 5 o'clock that last day to walk away for any reason. So that's a key component. Man, one of my favorites is the financing contingency piece, because a lot of times we don't understand what we're asking the sellers to do is to wait for 21 days or whatever you're writing in that section just to get your conditional approval. And so if you are able to if you're good at what you do, you're able to tap into that piece and win some of these bids. So
that makes sense. So on the buyer side, if you can make your financing more attractive, then that's good for the seller. And on the seller side, the most attractive financing means that there's less likelihood that it'll fall out. So if you've got somebody who's, going VA, which is a lot more intensive, versus somebody who's going FHA, versus somebody who's going conventional, versus somebody who's going cash, it might be worth, $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 off the price just to know that you're going to close because you've got a cash buyer.
Oh my goodness. And they say cash is king. There's some other nuances to that. There's so many things to look for in these contracts, these addendums that's being slid in on some of the sellers. I love that we've done it so long that we could pull out those things and fillet it open, right? And say, here's what this really means. I love it. And even on our net sheets, Jonathan, we're able to show them side by side, a VA, a cash, conventional, an FHA buyer. We do that day one and say, here's what you're looking to net. So they're already ready for this process.
Nice. I was talking with somebody the other day, and they said in this market, if a house isn't selling quickly, it's one of two problems. It's either not priced properly, which, I mean, you guys have absolutely nailed, or it's not marketed properly. So what are you guys doing in this crazy time and era to market your sellers' properties in a way that makes it attractive for buyers and you get the best response on that opening weekend?
I love that. So some of the things we do ahead of time is we send our team out to do an actual walk through of the property, and they're physically walking the property as if they're the buyer with a live camera on a gimbal, and you feel like you're in it. And it really eliminates a lot of the fallouts, because when people do come, sellers are nervous right now, naturally so. They've already really seen the property is how they feel. So our marketing right now, we're putting that out there proactively just so buyers have that handy. And then we syndicate from a seller side, we syndicate these listings and do beyond the MLS. We go beyond the MLS postings. It goes to hundreds of portals, and it gets in front of those buyers that at one point they may not even know they wanted to buy until they saw our listing. And it causes that momentum to increase.
So when somebody lists with you, you actually send out, I think your husband does it, right?
He does.
He goes out with his camera?
He's the master behind it all. He produces this video. Absolutely.
Nice. I hear he also plays guitar. Is that true?
He does, and drums and saxophone, to be honest.
Wow, that's awesome. That's a multi-talented man, a Renaissance man. So he actually goes out and he walks through the property, not just takes photos where it's like a slideshow. Because with the slideshow, you really kind of get this disjuncted, like, okay, here's the kitchen. That looks great. Oh, okay, here's the dining room. But how do those connect? What's in between those two? What does it feel like when you're walking through? So you guys actually take this video and you do that before it ever even goes on the market, right?
We do. And we have it ready for when it does go on the market. Those buyers are able to see that. And it's not just, like you said, a slideshow with music put to it.
Wow. I think that's really important because you really do get a feel for the place, not just, okay, that's the master bedroom, that's the master bathroom. You really get to kind of walk through it and feel it. And I think that's really important. I want to touch on something that you're very humble about, but when you said it, I thought it was really, really important, and I want to bring it to the forefront, and that is the amount of volume that you guys do, because I think it's really important that you have somebody in your corner who this is not their first rodeo, that they've done this, and you've been a real estate agent for 7 years now, but you're not just doing 5 to 7 to 10 transactions a year. You got how many units will you guys do this year?
We're on pace for 75. We'll see when we readjust our numbers and look at things, reassess our numbers here soon, but on pace for 75.
So you guys are a growing team. I mean, you've got, how many people do you have now? Because you've got you and your husband, I know, but you got backup support staff after that, right?
Oh my God, an amazing backup support staff. That is the make or break of any real estate transaction. And so I love that. We have Diane, our executive licensed assistant specialist and closing specialist. And then we have 2 virtual assistants that serve us right now, and they are loving it. And we also have 2 other support staff members. It's a team of 7, and they handle a lot of the behind the scenes paperwork so that we can be forefront with our clients and stay on the phones with them and love on them while the other stuff is happening and no balls are being dropped.
I love that. And you guys are still looking to grow, right? So you're still looking to bring on more real estate agents so you can serve more people and go from there?
Yes, we're very careful about the talent that we leverage. So we are in search for that talent. And right now we have 2 and possibly 4, as I think about it, on the bench ready to come into the team.
That's really astounding. And I think it's important to mention that while you guys, you office out of like the Waxahachie, Ellis County office, you guys cover the entire Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Is that correct?
Our team staff can support the entire DFW. In fact, we actually relocate people all over the world, hence the name One Relocation Group. And I love when I get clients that call me from across the world. One had to WhatsApp me the other day because of where they were in the country.
Most people don't even know what WhatsApp is, and you're rocking it.
Yeah, and we're selling that property. It's so wonderful to be able to serve people all over the world.
That's amazing. I wanted to ask you another question because, we work with you guys and we love helping your clients, pick the right house. And sometimes the buyer, the first time they're ever even seeing the house is the home inspection. We love being a part of that process. But one of the things that we've noticed is that quite often you're both the buyer's agent and the listing agent on the same job. Can you talk a little bit about what the benefit is of having a listing agent who actually brings the buyer themselves rather than having to rely on another buyer's agent to do that?
Absolutely. We are full disclosure in that regard, and you must be in order to stay in compliance in Texas. And so what often happens, it's day one when we're talking to our sellers about what they're looking to net, considering what type of buyer they select. We also tell them we often procure the buyer. And what that means is we go searching for that buyer. We're not the team that's going to put that sign out, Jonathan. So I'm glad that you brought that out and then say, bye, we'll talk to you when we get an offer. That's not
here's a sign in a lockbox. Good luck.
Yeah. Exactly what happens quite too often in our industry. So we actually do that and go. Some people don't even have a sign for that matter because of the way it moves. And oftentimes we're able to bring that buyer to the table and save the sellers even more money. And depending on the buyer's wishes, we either leverage in negotiations or we stay in the middle of the transaction to successfully get it to closing. What I find, Jonathan, is the success ratio is even higher because there's someone experienced that understands the process and able to get everybody to closing seamlessly.
Absolutely. So if you've got, hey, I know this paperwork needs to get done on this side and this paperwork needs to get done on this side, when you've got the same person handling the same piece, there's less drop in communication. There's less likelihood that the buyer's agent, isn't super experienced, hasn't been doing this for very long, and ends up gumming up the works. It's funny how sometimes people think, ooh, I hope that the buyer doesn't have good representation so that we can get the best possible deal. But that's not what really happens when the buyer doesn't have good representation. What really happens is it gets messed up.
Yep.
It doesn't work properly. And then you had your house off the market for a long chunk of time, and then you have to put it back on, and now you're paying taxes and all of this stuff. I think that's really important to have great representation on both sides. And if that's the same person, as long as you're disclosing and everybody knows what the deal is, I think that's really powerful. And like you said, it saves that seller money because you don't charge the full commission on that if you're working both sides of the transaction.
Oh my goodness, Jonathan, you bring up such an amazing point. So many people do that, and sellers don't realize when they're offering or agreeing to pay a certain set of commission that some agents will keep majority of it and only pay out whoever brings the buyer a fraction instead of being fair and going down the middle. That's something we have full integrity in, and we disclose up front that, hey, if another agent brings a buyer, we're not going to market only a fraction. And the same in this scenario, if we bring the buyer, we're able to lessen that for them. So I love that you brought that out.
Absolutely. And I'm going to go on record here, and I'm probably going to get in trouble. But any agent who says, well, let's not pay a buyer's agent the full commission that they're expecting is drastically reducing the amount of people that will see it, because some agents will look at your listing and before they send it to their buyer, they check that percentage to make sure it's there. Because if it's not, they're working for a lot less money, and they're like, I don't want to sell these people this house because of that. And whether that's fair or not is irrelevant. It just means you will have a lesser showing on your initial offer.
One of the first videos we did a few years back was to educate the seller on that very thing, because they don't have a clue that that's happening. And they're wondering, why am I not getting the showings? Why are people, everybody else's house around me, they're selling. And it's often because that commission, and maybe the agent they hired offered to take a less commission, but they didn't realize how it would impact their bottom line, net number. It's interesting to me.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that. If somebody says, well, would you take less for your commission? A lot of agents are probably saying, well, yes, I will, but I'm going to pass that on to the buyer's agent and their portion of the commission. And so that's going to get you, that really hurts. That's something you definitely do not want to do.
It hurts, and you ultimately never get to your destination, wherever you're trying to go. It just turns into a big nightmare. We get a lot of those calls, Jonathan, where people have been through that exact experience, and we're able to explain it to them, because we are about educating our clients and explain, this is why that happened. Here's the way the listing looked. Here are some of the things we're going to do different. And that happened last 2 weeks or so ago. And honestly, the seller is just like, I can't believe this. I just can't believe this. They asked me, is this normal? You know, another seller actually asked, is this normal to have this many people coming? So, I mean, like, this is crazy. And so it's really about, like you said, marketing, and it's about full disclosure and helping them to understand what's going to get them the most money as a seller.
Absolutely. Because again, the more people you have, the more offers you're going to get, and the best chance you're going to have. Yes, you could probably sell your house just by sticking a sign in the yard and letting people come and view it, but you're not going to get the best bang for your buck if it's not virtual tour, properly marketed, out there doing what it's supposed to be. I want to change subjects here for really quickly, because there's a subject that I'm really passionate about, and that is young people, and really anybody, but really especially young people, developing wealth in America. And one of the number one core things that every single book out there will tell you, if you want to be developing wealth, you need to become a homeowner. And it kills me as I drive around DFW, and what I see are huge apartment complexes going up, and they're all over the place. I just had a huge one go up right by my house, right where I live, and I'm thinking, that place will be full in days. Before they finish building it, they'll have it mostly rented out to people who are paying $1,200, $1,500, $1,700 a month in rent. And I've always wondered, like, why? Why are there so many people willing to throw away hundreds and hundreds of dollars every single month when they could be building equity and have an appreciable asset? And I come down to the same thoughts again and again and again. And I think that is that most people think that a house costs more than their monthly payment that they're paying for a rent, which isn't true in the vast majority of cases. B, my credit is really, really bad, right? And so I have to rent because I don't have good enough credit to actually buy a home. And C, I need a lot of money down in order to buy a house. And when we were talking before we started going live, which, by the way, again, thanks to everybody for joining us live on this, you said something that was utterly astounding, and I want to bring this up. You said in the last couple of months, you've had 2 buyers who closed. One of them came out $0 out of pocket. They came to the closing table with not 1 red cent, and one of them came to the closing table with only $400 out of pocket. Is that true? Is that real?
Actually, what I said, you're so spot on. I love you, Jonathan. Actually, what I shared is $0 to closing in a few weeks. I see that happening. This buyer is coming to the closing table in a few weeks at $0. The 2 before, $6. I believe they brought in some change, and another one, $400. Now that's just 2 scenarios of so many where we see buyers come to the table, and many of our buyers actually get money back. They're getting their earnest money that they put up before back at closing. And it's so wonderful to see their eyes light up to say, I can't believe I'm a homeowner and I didn't have to do what I thought or I heard others say they had to do. So yes, you're correct.
That's absolutely amazing. And like I said, this is a message I am drastically passionate about telling, again, especially young people. I mean, the millennial generation is really growing up. Really what we have now is we have these Gen Zers who are just starting to hit the market, who think, oh, I'm supposed to rent. I can't afford to buy a home and go to school at the same time.
Oh,
you know,
God.
that's really not the case. And I think that's so important. So if somebody's thinking about becoming a first-time home buyer, what's the first step in that? Should they go look at houses? Should they call their bank, or should they talk to you? What's the first step they need to do in that home buying process?
I love that. Despite regardless, that's now a word, by the way, in the dictionary. To how big or so our team is, they're actually able to call me. And we talk through what are your goals? How much monthly payment do you desire to pay? And then we look at what do you feel your challenges are in credit? And we actually have team partners that will at no cost run the scenario, give them back a plan that says, here's what you should go do. And these steps exactly. If you make this payment amount on this account, it gives you 60 points or 100 points or 20 points. So they're able to put, a plan in place. I love seeing when buyers actually do it, because then they come back and say, it's time to go shopping. So we walk and hold their hands through the entire thing. We had a client, Jonathan, tell us they had bought and sold 12 homes. And after coming to our teams, they had never learned as much and experience anything like what they experienced working with us. And that's simply because we're huge on educating. Even as an endorsed local provider with Dave Ramsey, we're held to high standard on making sure that we're able to convey well and clearly so the baby can understand it. And I love doing it. So we put in place a plan. And if it's saving for a month, 2, 3, or 10, and then we start the process, that's what we do. We're not in the business of twisting arms. We love educating and supporting people to become homeowners, though.
That is absolutely phenomenal. So I want to share your phone number here. Will you tell them, because you told me you were willing to give them your personal cell phone number. This is the one that sits on your hip and you answer. All right, so let's do that.
My daughter says, put phone down, Mom. So yeah.
You're like, right after I sell this house, hold on, I'll be right with you. So tell them your personal cell phone number so they can reach out to you if they're interested in buying or selling.
Absolutely. It's actually an 832 area code. I am from Dallas. It's so funny. Long story behind that. 832-233-8635. It's my personal cell.
That's awesome. And if somebody wants to email you, they can reach you at what?
At just my first name, and it's spelled with an IE. That's Bobbie at onerelocatingroup.com. Many of them know us as the Carrington team. My husband and I started as a duo. Yep. You can even reach me at Bobbie at the Carrington team. It's your choice.
You got options. I like it. I think that's fantastic. I wanted to also say that if anybody's interested in joining your team, you are looking to grow, you are looking to bring on some really good, high quality people that really take really good care of their clients, that have that gusto, that have not that gusto, but that thing that you can't train, right? That certain something, right? And so if they're interested in joining your team, they could also call you, right?
They can. And it's really, it's like finding a needle in a haystack sometimes. And I wish those people would just raise their hands. And yet we pray for those people to come to fruition. And we've seemed to have found some amazing talent. I love that they're able to just come in, Jonathan, and plug in and do what matters to them most, which is their 20%. And that's negotiating, writing contracts, and then on to the next. We have a full support staff that's prepared to support them. So I love it.
Nice. So they don't have to worry about all the minutia and leads and all of that. They can just come in, do what they do really, really well, and then go home to their family every night.
And then we get to love on them, which is also wonderful.
Bobbie, this has been a great interview, and thank you so much for coming in and doing this with me. I love what we talked about as far as getting people in for inexpensive so they can get out of the rat race or the rent race, whatever you want to call it, and they can really start building their wealth and home ownership. Is there anything else you want to talk about before we say goodbye to everybody?
You know what? I think it's great that you asked that question. First, thanks for having me. It's really important that whoever you choose to hire in your real estate journey, just make sure they're really great at negotiating, and giving up commissions is a key sign that they're not so great at that. And so it dawned on me the day that we saved our buyer client $160,000 or $180,000 on a luxury listing, that it's about negotiating and making it a win-win for all parties. So just make sure whoever you're looking to leverage to support you in your real estate journey, that you really make sure they're good at what they do.
Did you just say you saved somebody $160,000 on a luxury listing?
Yeah, it's either 160, 180, something like that.
Girl, you never cease to amaze. That's fantastic.
I'm grateful to God for his support and gift.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, he just works in absolute mysterious ways, and I'm so glad that we had this opportunity to share together. Thank you so much, and I'm just going to say goodbye to everybody. I'm Jonathan Crow, General Manager of TexInspec, and
Bobbie Carrington, One Relocation Group of Keller Williams.
Until we see you again, stay safe and stay productive, everybody. Bye.